remembering that he addressed the joint sitting of Parliament in September last year. But then today, the president largely using this session to enumerate what his administration has been able to do in the past 1 year. We've seen him list every single project he believes that the administration has been able to achieve. But then you could also tell from his speech that there was a level of him trying to make a case and actually trying to explain the situation as it is, noting that many Kenyans have lamented about the state of the economy and actually how the prices of various commodities have gone up, including fuel prices. We saw the president speak about what has slowly become his pet subject, the affordable housing project, which he says has created employment opportunities, mentioned about the Ruto project, which he had gone to inspect the ongoing works, and he says the progress is impressive, it's almost 60%. Talked about the fertilizer subsidy program, which he says will make the country meet its deficit in terms of maize production. But before we go into the details of that speech, of course, and the issues he spoke about, joining me here is Mheshimiwa Wino. Please, first, your overall view of the president's first State of the Nation address and what you feel maybe about what he presented.
First of all, I represent a very rural community who has a problem putting food on the table, taking kids to hospital when they are sick, and making sure tuition is paid. I was looking around those, how this family, sometimes they are widows and widowers, how they can get a relief. But what the president talked about, unfortunately, is about processes, which we understand from the beginning was okay. But right now we were expecting outcomes that targets what the people are going through. One of them, which I was waiting for, is fuel subsidy. Because everything is revolving around gas. So long as people still have the pain of the pump, and my rural folks I talked to, they are buying kerosene at 200 and something. They still cook with kerosene. They still light up with kerosene. We are not happy. In fact, what we were waiting for did not come through. So we can say with remorse that it was speech without value, which can be classified as noise. And I appeal to this government to work on substances. You know, what people are going through is horrible when you talk about cost of life. And if you don't tackle them, you cannot give any relief. So let them tackle fuel.
These are some of the concerns you will also be presenting to the House, because we know the House will also discuss the speech sometime next week.
Especially, and we will put meat to it. We want tangible measures, things that if you ask anybody in the rural community or on the street can tell you, I had something that can give me hope, that even if I don't get relief now, there's something coming. But if you say that a hustler has borrowed 4.5 million, which hustler can borrow that? And what are the securities for that kind of money? So selected people he talked about it's not a good sample for what Kenyans are going through. And we will discuss it and we will give our opinion and direction. I hope they will listen. Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. There are the views of some of the members of one of the members of Parliament, and you can see one of the concerns he says he expected the president to address was the question of the rising cost of fuel and its commodities, and of course the concern is why the fuel subsidy is not being instituted. Of course, the Energy Cabinet Secretary had stated that what is fueling the high fuel prices for the countries, of course, the taxes that have been instituted. We have about 9 taxes, or it should be about 12 taxes that are actually that increase that cost. But the Cabinet Secretary argues that if some of those taxes are removed or some levies, then there's various projects that are going to stall. But also here with me is Alice Nganga. Yes. Tafadhali, you coming from, of course, the ruling Kenya Kwanza coalition, what is your feeling first about the state of the nation and as per the president's speech, and of course the concerns that have been raised regarding the high cost of living and what this administration is doing to cushion Kenyans?
Can I start saying that I'm very sleepy because last night we left Parliament at 1:30 a.m. in the morning as we were waiting for the ruling of Governor Kawira Mwangaza. And we thank God that she was vindicated and now she can go back to Meru and work. Let me also thank the President for visiting Parliament today. I know the cost of living is high. We are trying as Kenya Kwanza government to try and stabilize the economy. It is not easy, but we are giving our best shot. We know the high cost of fuel is really very high, but we are saying very soon, I keep on giving people hope that it shall be well. With time, it shall be well. We have seen what Kenya Kwanza has done for the last 1 year. Let me say from where I chair social protection, where we did registration of 700,000 old generation over 70 years of age, and they will be receiving their money as from January. I can as well also say that you can see the cost of fertilizer has gone down so that we can have cost of production of food. Our country, then the rest of the things will fall into place. The most important thing for now, and we thank God because He has given us rains, and with rains you know that we are going to get enough production, and with the low cost of fertilizer, then we are going to have enough production of food. With that one, then the rest of the cost of living, we can address it later. But as for now, let Kenyans have food. Yes.
Thank you very much. And also here with us is Gatundu South Member of Parliament, Gabriel Kagombe. And a lot has been said. We've spoken to some members of Parliament who feel like what the President presented in terms of his speech was empty rhetoric. And it was simply about plans that are being done and not what has been achieved 1 year later. What is your feeling? And of course, because you're also a Member of Parliament from the Kenya Kwanza political side.
You know, I must admit that we're in a situation that is not very good, but this is not a new thing. This has been, and this has been for many years in the past. But what I appreciate is the direction in which we're taking. And I want to say that you cannot say that there's empty rhetoric when we have produced 45 million metric tons of maize vis-a-vis 19 metric tons last year. You cannot say there's rhetoric when we're saying that we have increased the employment of young people and we have raised 45,000 housing units already. You cannot say that it is empty rhetoric when you're saying that we have been able to fix our debt that was already crippling the economy. We cannot say that this is empty rhetoric when we have reined in on importation. You know very well that one of the things that people are complaining about right now is the importation business, which has been killing our country. Our economy cannot proceed based on importations. We cannot feed our economy and develop our economy based on what has been produced by other countries. These are things that a lot of people will not appreciate. And I want to say, you know, when you make a promise, and economics and fixing a country's economy is not something that will take a year. And I like saying that if you remember 2007, because we're all here, we failed to elect Kibaki, who we now keep praising, because we did not feel that he had done enough at that time. Because what he had done from 2002 to 2007 was not visible. And so the effect of what we're doing right now, the effect of the Finance Act that we put in place that is now enhancing and promoting local production, cannot be felt within a year. So I would say, except the naysayers, who of course will find it very nice, because, you know, once you have passed some of these proposals, like the universal healthcare, which has eaten into the pockets and into the savings of literally every family in this country. We are saying that we want to fix the healthcare system. You know, we have passed 4 laws that are going to take effect in January. Of course, you cannot say that that is empty rhetoric. You will say it is empty rhetoric when you do not know the pain of having a patient in hospital. Right now, I'm rushing to go to Kenyatta Hospital to release someone who has just passed on with a bill of 800,000, and that family cannot even raise 80 shillings. So when we say that it is empty rhetoric, it is people who do not understand what to run an economic looks like. So what I would say, and I like saying that the only thing that I want the president to be very committal about is that all this money that has been raised and we're going to raise using the policies and the laws that we've passed and the fiscal policies that we're going to put in place in Parliament, that money shall be safeguarded, and we cannot entertain any corruption. The only thing that we cannot talk about is corruption, but everything that has been set in place is a step in the right direction, and I think this country is now headed in the right direction. Thank you very much.
Well, that was the Gatundu South Member of Parliament, Gabriel Kagombe, just giving us its insights into the president's speech. But my colleague Stephen Leto is on the other side of the tents where most of the leaders are there. Let's listen in to what Stephen Leto has on the other side.
Please. Well, we continue to analyze the president's 1 hour long speech, and with me here are literally 3 health experts, starting with the Cabinet Secretary for Health. Tell us, what do you take of the president has spoken heavily on matters health that falls under your docket. What are some of the strides made as per the president's speech today?
Thank you very much. The President highlighted what the ministry has so far achieved on matters health. You know, he promised universal health coverage. So one of the most important things that we have been able to do is to enact laws for us to be able to do universal health coverage. We now have the Primary Health Care Act. We have the Facility Improvement Fund Act. We have the Digital Health Act, and we have the Social Health Insurance Act. That is going to change the landscape of how we deliver healthcare within this country. And that we have managed to do it within this year, and that is why it formed part of his State of the Nation address. We have gone further in implementation. You saw on the 20th of Mashujaa Day, we launched the Community Health Promoters services, where the community health promoters that have been recruited by the counties, trained by the national government, kitted by the national government, a medical kit and also a gadget for digitization were launched, 100,000 of them. And even a day ago, I was in Laikipia and Nyandarua County just to do spot check, and all those kits are all over the country. So now we have started implementation. You saw in his speech, he already spoke to a Kenyan who has already received the services of a community health promoter. Yes. And
the new baby, which is the CHP, came with a lot of financial questions. Has the ministry been able to sort maybe the remuneration of all these CHPs that have been deployed?
Thank you. You know, CHPs previously called volunteers. They were volunteering. They were not getting anything. So there was an agreement between the national government, the Ministry of Health, and the county governments that we shall give them a stipend. So we are ready to give the stipend on a matching basis, 50-50. The counties will give 50%. The national government will give 50%. And I want to confirm that for the national government, and my chair is here, we are ready with our 50% of the stipend.
Well, let's hear from your chair, then, the chair for the National or Health Committee in the National Assembly. Tell us the laws that are still pending in the National Assembly that will actualize all this universal health coverage, and what are their timelines?
I think so far we've done most of the laws that can actualize universal health care, and what remains is regulations to operationalize those laws, and the ministry is already working on those regulations. Once they are ready with the regulations, and as Parliament, we've always worked together with the ministry. Parliament has drafters who are ready, and if the ministry will be able to request for these drafters, I know the Director Legal, whom we've been talking, and the Office of the Clerk will be able to support the ministry to make sure that we can fast track those regulations so that they can go into public participation and soon be able to assist in operationalizing. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The regulations, the process is ongoing. Yeah. I already wrote to Parliament, and I already received, I think, 3 people from Parliament, and my team is already working. We anticipate to finalize the regulations by the end of the year. So by the time we are coming into a new year, the regulations should be in place. And once we finish at the ministry level, we do public participation. We'll bring them to Parliament, and then they will be gazetted by the AG.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and wishing you the best. Maybe we just continue to receive and see what are some of the reactions. Probably in a minute or so. What do you take of the president speech, member for Seme constituency?
I'll summarize the president's speech as this: a summary of promises, a report on process indicators, which means you are saying, I promised to do this thing, I've done this and this, but really the results have not come. So whether it is because we are waiting, it's not a result speech. It's not a result of what is touching the people as of now. It's a speech of what we plan to do, what we are doing, so that we get you what we want. So this is how really I would summarize the whole speech. As it is now, you cannot say the people are going to benefit from what it is. So I think we are going to give it time and look at, are these things going to be done? The indicators may be good if you say we are going to change a law that is going to make health services available. What the people are waiting for is availability of the health services. This process is good, but that's not what the people want. So to me, that's a summary actually in all areas. Okay.
Thank you. Very, very quickly, what do you take? The president has spoken a lot about the issues of the end of reducing the cost of living in the country, and even seeing the Attorney General, Attorney General, Attorney General, come greet your viewers. Attorney General, just a former ranking member of this house. Basically, welcome back to Parliament, and what do you have to say today?
I'm happy that I'm being welcomed back to Parliament in the current on the current side, and this other side, because I just feel nostalgic when I visit around here, because I've been here for too long.
What do you rate this house since you left in terms of laws, formulations, in terms of oversight? How do you rate them 1 year on?
Well, I can't say. I think maybe a new parliament. There's new members. It takes some time to learn the ropes. So maybe for now, one cannot start saying you can't complain. But because I'm seeing there are quite a number of private members' bills. Yeah, I'm seeing quite a number of private members' motions. So, since upon the Serikali, you are the ones who perhaps we have not given them enough work.
Perhaps being the chief legal advisor of government, a lot of Kenyans today have been all over complaining about now, a marriage certificate being much expensive than dowry itself in terms of the new charges. What will you take on that as the country's legal chief advisor?
That's not my line. But I can say that when I saw those changes last night actually, I was also surprised at the rates at which they were being increased. But I think a lot of consultation is happening. So I just want to tell Kenyans what they have said through social media, through various other medium, has been heard, and without having to say much, let them have faith.
Thank you.
It is being heard.
Thank you.
Yes.
Enjoy the rest of your evening. Maybe from the north, there has been a lot of issues to do with the effects of El Nino right now, and we also had the president had a plan to bring those mitigation factors.
Thank you. The president has really elaborated on issues that are now of concern to Kenyans, and what we are now waiting to see is how those are going to be implemented. What you know very well is that Kenyans are very good in formulating and coming up with very good strategies, but when it comes to implementing is where the problem is. We expect things to change in the hands of the current president, so that issues that are of concern, like now reducing the cost of goods and items, and also addressing issues that are now really of concern to the people of northeastern Kenya, like the floodings, that is extremely very important, and we expect him to implement and do something of those.
Thank you. Mheshimiwa, also, maybe you also attended from the other house. What do you have to say about the president's speech? But before maybe because of the senior ranking, Kiongozi, the minister, the CS for is literally bullying the rest. Anyway, Waziri, what will you have to say? The president has really elaborated heavily on matters touching on your docket, that is transport and infrastructure. Where are we as a country in terms of reaching the target that you had already set as the ministry?
As a ministry, remember when we came in, the key statement that the president made today was that we must live within our own means. And so ours was first to stop new projects. And we agreed that we can't start new projects because that will require us to spend more, to do more borrowing, to do extra expenditure that is going to break the headroom. Now, what we've done in the ministry is to give ourselves a target of completing the existing pending roads that are that is a length of about 3,500 kilometers. Remember that we have a pending bill that is currently pending of about 150 billion. We have been, the whole year we've been having lengthy conversations with our development partners. We think that we have made great progress, and the president is going to be able to update the nation early next year that we should be able to resume construction of most of the roads. The rest of the programs at the port, at the airport, and other major infrastructural development, some of which we want to become flagship projects for this administration, is going to be delivered through the public-private partnership as a way of cushioning the people of Kenya, and in keeping with what the president said, that we must live within our means. We must deal with the situation as it is. Transport is important, infrastructure is important, but we must deliver it through a means that is not going to overburden current and future generations.
Maybe before I let you go, a very quick one. You're just an immediate member of this parliament. How do you rate the current parliament in its operation in terms of legislation and oversight?
Well, I think this parliament has many new members of parliament, younger, very ambitious, very expectant, and I believe that they are doing very well with effort and hard work they're having at the moment. We cannot rate them in the first 1 year, but they have started well. They know what they want. They are more focused. As a cabinet secretary, the pressure I get from members of parliament shows that they know what they want from their constituents, and I think it's our job to support them to make sure that they grow in their political career.
Thank you. Thank you. The CS, as I later, the CS has joined the president. CS, how do you say with the president's speech, especially now with you with a new docket of oversight of other ministries?
Well, I'm very happy. I think the president was very clear that we may not be there, but we are making substantial progress, and the foundation is strong. And I think the areas he has enumerated shows that as we go on, I think we are going to build the curve on so many things. Particularly, I'm very happy about the pronouncement of the NYS, which is under my ministry, that 80% of anybody who is hoping to join the security forces has to come through NYS. Na tuko tayari kufundisha capacity ya kufunza kabisa. Yes, and you know the good thing with this is because once they come through NYS, even when we take them to Kikanjo, they will take shorter time. That's saving costs because already they have undergone paramilitary training at NYS. Thank you.
Maybe back to members of parliament and how they really feel about today's, because this was your day to host the president, to highlight all the issues. Very quickly, a minute each. What do you take of the president's speech today?
Thank you very much. As a member of this house, a first-time senator, I would say that the president has elucidated the role that we as parliament has played in laying a foundation to his manifesto and achieving, the dreams that he has and the goals that he has for the people of Kenya. Most importantly, he has said that the laws that we've passed, especially the health laws that we've passed, the effect of and the net effect of those laws that he has signed into national law are being felt on the ground. The UHC, the community health promoters, we are already getting fruits from it, but we expect even much more.
Thank you. Thank you. Member for Mogotio Kibore, Honorable Kiborek, what do you take of today's speech by the president, particularly when you come from the bandit hit zone of the North Rift? What do you take of the president's threats to the bandits and the financiers and all those that are facilitating this process?
Thank you, Leto. From the president's speech today, President is a president who was elected at such a time that the country is facing a lot of problems, from insecurity, from food security, from banditry, from economy, and many other crises. To me, I can equate with Winston Churchill when he said we are in the moment of blood, sweat, and and toil to make the country work and to make the country better.
Is there a solution to this banditry in the north?
There is, and as we speak now, the guns are silencing slowly by slowly, and the president has promised us that the police and the army will remain in the ground for as long as it takes to bring down to silence the guns. So we want to echo the president resolve in terms of bringing security and bringing food security and many other insecurity in this country. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's have a gender balance at least. And so that tell us, the president today has spoken on a wide range of issues. Which is this one thing that really caught your eye, not only as a Kenyan but as a woman in the Kenyan parliament?
One thing I want to appreciate that President has honored his word in terms of ensuring that what he promised Kenyans, or what we promised as a government, has been able to achieve. One of my greatest happinesses is in matters of agriculture. The cost of the fertilizer from 7,000 to 2,500. The farmer, who is very happy to state that his produce has been able to be doubled. Why? Because the cost of production has also been lowered. That also increases our food security in this country, which is a very big milestone, very big achievement. Matters the markets that are going to be there, which are also going to be very fully equipped with electricity and other amenities, then that are going to give opportunities to our mama mboga to be able to run their businesses, which then runs the economy and improves the situations that are in place. So we've achieved a lot. Hustler Fund, we've had the guy in Mombasa, and I'm happy that the president is also having the direct call to Kenyans, something that he did during the campaigns. There was direct interaction, something that is still happening even currently. Yeah.
Maybe thank you. Maybe before I hand over to Seth Olale to take on the senator for Mandera and the rest of the senators, there has been one great issue that has been of a debate today, and the increase in the charges of various government services, from marriage certificate, identification cards, that has already been suspended by the courts. But what do you as members of parliament have to say about that?
Very unfair to Kenyans, increasing the cost of everything, in terms of the issue of death certificate, birth certificates and everything, even marriages. And I think it is high time for the president to review the same and revoke this increment. Secondly, the president falls short on addressing the issues of stored projects. There are so many roads countrywide which he has not even touched and addressed. Issues of electrification, we have not heard anything, and I think so many things need to be addressed. So far, I am not really impressed by the speech, except the issues of agriculture. He has really dealt them with well, but we need to be told the issues of stored projects.
Well, at the other side, there is, of course, just refreshments going on, and the president interacting with some of members of parliament. But let me hand over to Seth Olale, my colleague, to pick it up from here.
Well, right away, because of time, we'll just go straight to the Mandera Senator, Ali Roba, also a former governor, actually two-term. But just tell us about, your sentiments in regards to the president's State of the Nation address today. What score would you give the president, just to start with?
Well, the statement is good. While it gave a lot of hope to the rest of the country, the statement has largely ignored the pastoralist community, where most sectors in other regions have been mentioned, and a problem that is bedeviling this region, such as livestock sector investment, has not been touched at all. The issue of Hustler Fund, because of the interest issue, and the Islamic community is not benefiting that region, and it has been discussed.
And your county is one of the hardest hit. We see Elwak submerged right now.
Absolutely, and the prevailing situation of El Nino that has really caused a lot of havoc in the region, which is something that should have been of grave concern to the government, has not been mentioned. It really has left me, unimpressed as a leader from the region, and that region largely ignored. The impression it gave is that of all of us are equal, but others are more equal than others, sort of scenario, because the problems that are, that is affecting that region has not been touched, and that is my take, despite other issues that having been mentioned by the president. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That is Ali Roba, the Mandera Senator. Just some gender balance before I come to you, Honorable Kerry. But Rangwe MP, Lillian, what do you take? What is your reaction in terms of your expectations from the president's speech today?
Thank you, Seth. I appreciate the media. Personally, personally came here, I didn't want any reported speech. I wanted to come and listen and take note so that even when I address the media, I address the media from the point of information. The main thing that actually brought me to Parliament was not even for the presidential address. The president came to Homa Bay. He promised me a road himself. So I wanted to ask him about the road he promised me. So immediately he stepped out. I asked him about the road he promised me when he came to Homa Bay, and he said he was going to act. That was the main thing that brought me, because you know, being a member of Azimio, I can't go to State House to ask for that unless Raila tells me to go.
Okay, but you are talking about development. What is your take about the president's address on development in general?
On development in general, there was populism, because when the president starts addressing specific people in specific areas, it brings in populism. It should have just, it was well contained though, when he talks about the primary health care givers, the ones who are at the villages. That is what touched me most, because these mostly are women. They have always been ignored, and right now they have been brought on board. I've personally seen my own governor, Gladys Wanga, put them on a payroll. So that was good on economic empowerment of women. About subsidized agriculture, he also brought in something on...
let us just cut you now because we have to hand over to Jemutai Goin. I'll just take now from MP Kiarie Dagoretti. Just before we hand over very quickly to Jemutai Goin, who is also standing by here at Parliament Buildings with the host of other guests. Just what do you make of the President's State of the Nation address today?
Seth, you're a communicator, and there are two things I'd like to report on. One is the style of delivery, and two, the form. On the style, you see that the President came up very well. In fact, some Kenyans think that he was doing it out of his memory and out of his mind, but he was actually using the technology of a teleprompter, which was very well presented. Still on style, the President, before delivering the speech, had spoken to hundreds of Kenyans last night on phone, from farmers to fishermen to beneficiaries of the Hustler Fund to community health volunteers, so that he was speaking on issues that are speaking to the Kenyan. But on form, I would like to say that it was short, packed and punchy. He was able to cover the areas that is required to cover on the matters of national development and aspirations, on security, on our international obligations, and in summary, he has told us that he has laid the foundation in the last 1 year. If the foundation is firm, I know we can springboard to the development that is promised in the Kenya Kwanza plan. He's done a good job.
Thank you, he's done a good job. And Jemutai Goin, right now, I know you're also on standby with quite a number of members of Parliament who actually were there, very present during that 1 hour or so delivery speech from the head of state. Goin, what are those legislators telling you right now?
Well, you've heard the divergent views from various members of Parliament from across the political divide, each having some sort of lukewarm response to what was the State of the Nation address issued by President William Ruto. But I'm joined by Mwangi Kiunjuri. What is your feeling about the address? You listened to it almost an hour and 15 minutes long. What was your general pickup from that address?
My feeling is that the President was able to address issues that concerns the nation, issues that Kenyans have been asking whether there is hope. And at the end of the day, with the President address today, we can see clearly that there is light at the end of the tunnel, because he has been able to articulate a number of things, issues to do with the cost of living. He has been very categorical that he's going to follow up his transformation agenda, whereby he must make sure that he empowers Mwananchi, that is the common man, and especially on issues to do with agriculture. And we are doing very well. And you see, there is no way this country is going to come back again on track unless we are able to boost issues to do with agriculture, because one of his promises was to eradicate hunger in this country. And to empower Kenyans, we must ensure that the farmer is taken care of. Issues to do with the hustler, again, the hustler fund has taken shape at the same time. Today, we have heard of experiences coming from all the corners of the country, whereby for the first time, Kenyans are confident, the world is confident that Kenyans are creditworthy. You look at issues to do with health, again, the reforms that are taking place, they might be painful, and most of the things the president is doing are really painful to Kenyans when it comes to issues to do with taxation. But what he's telling Kenyans is that for us to come out of the big hole, we have to sacrifice, work together, and if you get a healthy nation, you have to ensure that the country is well-fed. At the same time, the health issues that affect our people, issues to do with the diseases, the way to fight the abuse that we have been encountering, and with the reforms that have taken place through the reforms that are being carried out through the bill that was introduced, issues to do with health care, primary care, and also preventive issues, the country will be able to move forward. And it will not be easy for us to do so. We have to sacrifice here and there.
There are some that have said there are some concerns and they feel like there's a very slow pace in implementation. Do you feel that?
The pace is, you should understand that where we are coming from, that we had been endangered. If we had moved the way the country was moving, and we did not take those stringent measures that are a bit painful, the country could have gone to dogs. If you look at the countries that were at the same position that we are today, countries like Ghana, they have already been blacklisted. If you look at the issues we are dealing with our debt, question about debt, like the Euro boards, that are really pinning, because every day that comes, the way shilling is going down, every day inflation goes up. Every day the dollar goes up. It means the country is borrowing without really going anywhere to ask for any resources from any country. Because any increment, if the dollar today is 150, tomorrow the dollar goes to 152. It means the country is borrowing $2 for every $1 that every inflation coming in. Meaning, with the Eurobond, with the debt that we're having in the country, even without borrowing, Kenyans will suffer, will undergo the pain. I'm happy that the president has already cleared the issue, that on the issue of Eurobond that is coming up in June, maturity, already 500 billion will be paid, allowed 500 million euro dollars will be paid by end of December this year. And by June next year, we shall have already been able to pay up the board.
So no default.
Meaning there is no default, meaning we shall be opening the headroom once again, that we can be able now to factor in development in our budget. And that is how you are going to spur the economy of this country.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And also joining me is Nairobi woman representative Esther Passaris. What are your 3 takeouts from the president's speech today?
Well, first thing, I mean, he understands that the cost of food was really a big problem to a lot of people, and he addressed it by saying, look, we've given fertilizers, we're registering all farmers, we're making sure that Kenya never has to be in a place where it cannot afford to feed itself, where it imports food, where it struggles with food prices. So he's putting in the mechanisms to make sure that we can have food available and affordable. And he did talk about prices coming down, and I think with the rains that we've been blessed, hopefully the prices will come down even more. And then when food is available, people have also got livelihoods, right? I like the fact that he's really focused on the independence of the judiciary, and that's something that he's proud of, giving them the budget, letting the judges run their own affairs, the police. You know, the police creating a task force to look at their remunerations, and also police housing is one of the big agendas that we have. And then also housing as a whole, and the ecosystem and the holistic way that housing will help create job opportunities, improve on skills, and also give people decent accommodation. I think all in all, he's setting the pace to deliver and make sure, and he's still very focused on the most marginalized. He didn't talk about big industries. He talked about how can we, of course, big industries will come in because the contractors who are going to be building the houses are big, but he's focused on what is the impact of all that big. He touched on the border, he touched on the He touched on the electrician who said that, I'm supervising 100 electricians. So I think all in all, the biggest problem we have, as far as I'm concerned, is we've got a huge population and we're not managing the population growth. And as a result, no matter what we do, we might have a problem absorbing everyone. So I really hope that we have a balance with population, because every country has limited resources. But all in all, I believe that the president has worked very hard. And the big elephant in the room has always been corruption. And he has said he's not going to tolerate corruption. And then debt. He's also said that he's looking forward to paying the Euro bond. So if all that works out in the next State of the Nation address, if we see that he's achieved all that, then we can say that, he's trying to get out of a hole. Is very, very difficult. He cannot get out of that hole that the country finds itself on his own. He needs the support of everyone. So all of us should team together and really give him the support. I wish the bipartisan talks absolute success, so that together we can build a prosperous nation.
Thank you very much. That was Esther Passaris. Divergent views, of course, expressed. They say the president has done the best he can and he requires time. Remember, when he attended Sunday's service at the Mamangina Drive on Sunday, the president stated that he had learned something, that he also is one person that expects a lot of results from even members of his cabinet, and said maybe there's need to exercise a little bit of patience to allow for initiatives that have been initiated or commenced to mature and come to fruition. Also joining me is Kipkelion West, Member of Parliament, just to hear you're a Kenya Kwanza allied Member of Parliament. There was a parliamentary group meeting that was held at State House, and even as members and elected representatives of the people, are there concerns that you feel the president maybe did not address in his speech, or what was the one thing that you say he addressed in the speech to show that the Kenya Kwanza administration is making strides in its 1 year in office?
Thank you, Chemutai. I think today the president ticked all the boxes right, because he was candid to the people of Kenya that he took over a country with an economy that was on its knees, and that his first agenda when he took office was to revive that same economy. And he has assured Kenyans that as up to today, the economy is now back on track, and he went ahead to even assure the nation that the 2 billion euro bond that was to mature in June next year, he had put in place measures and he is ready to retire it by December. That is very good news from the perspective of the economy. Number two, Chemutai, is that he was also very forthright by speaking boldly against subsidizing consumption. Remember, we were surviving on consumption and we were subsidizing it, and every other time we were digging a hole that was putting the country in problems. And he started by immediately moving away from subsidizing consumption to subsidizing production. And that is why the country has had a bumper harvest. The main reason now, the main problem now is to have the maize prices to be stabilized so that the farmers of Kenya can even be encouraged to double their effort even in the coming season.
There are those who have said, some members of parliament who spoke to earlier, that he did not speak expressly on the matter of the fuel prices and the rising fuel prices, and also cost of power, which of course affects many other sectors.
Because, Chemutai, you know, the cost of power is a global phenomenon, and you know it is politicized. People are talking about that the cost of fuel is so high in Kenya. I was from Tanzania recently, and a liter of petrol is going for over 225. In fact, Kenya is better, but that is not the issue. The issue is the issue of the fuel is beyond the control of the government, and it is contributed by large international factors. Whatever is happening in Israel and Ukraine and all these wars have contributed largely to the cost of fuel. But when we stabilize other areas of the economy, this is an area that we think over time. The president spoke of visiting, going back to Saudi Arabia this weekend to negotiate, at least if they can waive a few charges that they usually impose on the oil that come to Kenya, at least to give reprieve to the Kenyan people. All in all, he is walking on the right track and is doing all under his power to make sure that he tries and bring back everything to stability.
Okay, maybe the last one from me. There's concern that the current government is overtaxing an already heavily taxed population. And many have asked, where are the members of parliament to speak out on the matter? There was the gazetting of that now reviewed the charges for government services offered at Huduma centers. Maybe is that a concern even maybe for members of parliament going?
Chemutai, that is not a tax. All taxes that are imposed by government are passed by the National Assembly. And the moment we pass the Finance Act of 2023-2024, there can never be any room for further taxation. Only what is happening is that ministries are reviewing the cost of printing a passport in view of the rising cost of materials that are used in procuring all those. Otherwise, there is no taxation. There can never be a new taxation without the approval of the House. Every other information that you hear that Kenyans are being overtaxed is a lie, is propaganda. The taxes that the current Kenya Kwanza government have imposed on Kenyans are those taxes that were contained in the finance bill, which became the Finance Act.
Thank you very much. Well, that was Kipkoilion West Member of Parliament just giving us his point of view. And you hear one of the major issues even earlier on when we spoke to a number of members of Parliament was the recent review of the pricing of the government services, and saying that especially for for the teenagers that are now 18 and above and are about to get their identity cards, that they are going to have a difficult time raising the 2,000 shillings. Well, the matter is now in court. A member of the public has moved to court to challenge that. We'll wait to see on what the determination of the court will be on that particular matter. But overall, you can hear there are various views. There are those who feel like the president has communicated what he feels is the honest truth about the state of the nation, and instead of sweeping maybe the issues under the rug and saying it's all clean and everything is okay, that maybe it's time the country actually knew what the situation is, so that maybe come together and find lasting solutions to the issues that are bedeviling the nation. My colleague Seth Olale is also still on the other side, where the guest and even the president is still there. Let's listen in to the guest he has there, and possibly just get the other views of the Kenyans that joined members of parliament in listening in on this first State of the Nation address by President William Ruto. Seth?
Thank you very much, Seth. The president had a very good time in communicating